and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today I am with a 2016 Honda NC700X. This bike is really a cool machine. This bike has a lot of features on it that you just don't find on other bikes, but I'll go over a couple of the features here that make this bike so unique and really make it a wonderful place to be if you're doing commuting, touring, backroad riding, anything like that. And in addition to kind of the unique layout of this NC700X, this model is a dual clutch transmission automatic. And so it has a manual gearbox, but the computer actually shifts it for you. And it also, you can put it in manual mode if you so desire. But that really, especially if you're a newer rider, it really lets you focus on the road and lets you focus on actually driving the bike and traffic that's around you without having to focus on shifting and where the clutch is and where the shifter pedal is and which one's a shifter and which one's a brake. All of that stuff becomes a non-issue. You can just put it in the automatic mode and the bike will do the shifting for you. So really, for newer riders, that's a tremendous safety bonus there. This bike also comes with ABS brakes front and back. This is the ABS model as well. It's their high-end model. You know, just those features combined to just really make it a nice machine. So I'm gonna walk around the bike. Now this bike it's not even fresh off the trailer. It is still on the trailer. So I just picked this up as a used bike. It's only got 2,000 miles on it, and I'm stoked. I'm going to do a video on how to service this bike. As I said earlier, I have had one of these in the past and I just loved it. I probably put 2,500 miles on it over the course of a summer, just commuting back and forth to work. And I'll go over right now. Let's walk around and we'll take a look around the bike. Right off the bat, you can see that Honda has kind of that hypermotard styling, along the lines of something like a Ducati Multistrada. And although it has kind of road knobby tires on it, it's really designed as a street bike. You could certainly do some light off-roading, as in like gravel roads with it, but it's really not designed to be an off-road machine. But it has nice styling. The seating position is upright. You sit upright and you have nice wind protection on the bike. This one has some custom lighting options. We have lights here. We also have the Denali lights right here on both sides. And what I'm going to do, let's go up here and I can show you one of the coolest features of this bike. So where this bike is slim between your knees as you sit on it, but the cool thing is, when you pop this trunk, it has a massive storage compartment here. And I have had 2 gallons of oil and some oil filters in one of these. You can put your whole full-face helmet in there and it'll handle it nicely. And by having the luggage compartment here, there's no width to the bike. There's no additional width that you would get with traditional saddlebags. So that's just super cool, and it allows the bike, it's no bulkier, even though it has more storage capacity than some touring bikes. It's no bulkier than a normal standard. And what Honda has done as well, they put the fuel tank underneath the seat here, so this is where you actually fill the bike up. And the last time I had one of these, it was a manual version, but I was averaging over 70 miles to the gallon. So that's just another feature that just makes this bike a really cool commuter, and you can get tremendous fuel mileage. As you can see, there's no clutch lever. And this bike, you put it in gear here, you can upshift and downshift. It has a parking brake, but it has there's also no shifter on this side, but it has that dual clutch transmission. And it's proven technology. It's been a very reliable transmission for them. The motor in this motorcycle is actually out of a Honda Fit car. It's a 700cc motor, and again, it's just a motor that's been tremendously reliable for Honda. We'll go for a ride, and I'll just kind of tell you how the bike rides and handles and drives. I am currently riding Honda's middleweight ADV bike. It is the Honda NC700X, and this crazy thing is the DCT version, which means it essentially has an automatic gearbox. And it is a little bit different to drive, to say the least. This is my first time out on this bike, and it's a little disconcerting to not have a clutch and to not have a gear shifter. So I'm just giving you my first impressions here. This bike is the ABS model as well, and really, man, for the money, it has a lot of really nice options on it. Right now I'm doing around 60 miles an hour, and wind protection isn't bad. I'm still getting some on my helmet, but it really knocks most of the wind off of my chest, keeps me protected there. I've got my winter jacket on right now, and I'm seeing a little bit more of my elbows than I would like to see in the mirrors, but that's just because I'm a little bit broad-shouldered. That doesn't help. But they're not bad. I've got a clear view behind me. I do feel a little bit of a twin-cylinder vibration through the bike. It's not annoying. It's just a little bit of almost a rumble type of a feel. It's in top gear. One of the things I noticed when I pulled out was this bike shifted very quickly through the gears. And so by about 35 miles an hour, I was already in 5th gear. And that may help with the DCT's good gas mileage. This bike, I had a non-DCT version of the NC700X, and I was actually able to get over 70 miles to the gallon on a regular basis. So it's the most fuel efficient bike I've ever run is an NC700X. And there's 5th at 35. And 6th by the time we hit 40. But this engine is so torquey, you don't really notice it. It's faster than I would normally shift it if I were riding the manual version. It seems to be intuitive on the transmission. There I got on it a little bit more in the lower gears, and then it held the gear longer than it would have normally. So it seems to be somewhat adaptive in the way that I'm riding. Got plenty of pickup. It's not earth-shattering in the way that it makes power, but this motor is so torquey that it really just picks up nicely. Now it does have, the transmission does have a sport mode, and I can put that in sport mode if I'd like to. I may do that just to see how that operates. So I'm in sport mode now. It's just a click of the button here, right there. Oh, nice. Ah, that feels good. I wonder how long it's going to hold 5th gear here. Popped it in 6th there. So, it's not ridiculous. We'll see. I'll slow down a little bit around this corner and see how quickly it downshifts. Not bad. So that's interesting. It's different to ride an automatic motorcycle, and with the DCT, it's not a torque converter automatic, it's a
dual clutch transmission. That's what the DCT stands for. And it actually is a manual type of gearbox that automatically shifts between the gears, and so it actually has a clutch and engages that clutch instead of a torque converter. But it gives you a very nice feel. It is something, if you're used to a motorcycle with a clutch and with a shifter, it feels odd pulling up to a stop and not having to shift through the gears. But it's something that you quickly get used to. And where I really see this bike and the other DCT bikes having a tremendous advantage is for newer riders. A lot of your newer riders don't have experience driving manual cars, and so they just don't have any real experience with a manual gearbox. And with the DCT, man, you put it in gear and it thinks about the shifting for you. You don't have to mess with it. And I remember when I first started riding, I remember coming up to a stop sign and having to think half a mile ahead, having to think about what gear I needed to be in. By the time I got to the stop sign, I had to think about, you know, every time I came up to a corner, now did I need to shift up or down? And there was just a lot to mentally process instead of just being able to focus on the road. You know, taking that whole set of things to think about, you know, the shifting, the clutch actuation, all of that stuff, you take that out of the loop, and a newer rider is just able to focus on the road. And man, that really is that's a nice safety feature. You know, add to that this bike has ABS brakes, and it really does make sense for newer riders looking to get into the sport. It's really funny talking to motorcyclists. They get all up in arms about an automatic motorcycle, how it's not a real motorcycle, and yet they drive automatic cars all the time and don't even think about it. So, you know, if you're looking for something, if you're in the city or, you know, even out, and you just don't want to think about that, you want just something you can hop on and ride, man, these things are great. I'm really impressed. And even, I think if I got a Goldwing, I would definitely get the DCT version. This bike is really, if you're looking to do commuting or light duty touring, it's really nice. It has such a large cargo carrying capacity where the fuel tank would normally be on a standard bike. And so that, to me, that's a perfect setup. This thing, it's no wider than just a traditional standard. It looks like an ADV bike. The extra storage didn't spoil the styling of it. And for this model, they did upgrade the styling over the original NC700X and made it a little bit sharper and a little bit more aggressive, and I really like it. I think it looks nice in this silver. So I'm still in sport mode, and that's just, it's interesting. It's holding fifth gear longer than it normally would, but when I get on the gas, it's pretty responsive. So I'll see if I can do it on the fly, just shifting into drive. Yep, so it's now in drive mode. And right away that shifted up into sixth gear. The dash is a nice display there. I'd say it's a little bit, in those really sunny conditions, it's a little bit hard to read maybe. But I like the display. Seating position on this bike is very comfortable. It's upright. You have just maybe a little bit of a forward lead. You know, you're not getting a ton of wind on your chest, so, you know, I could ride this bike all day. And especially in warmer weather, I am getting it's a cooler day right now, and I'm getting a little bit of wind on my knees. The tops of my legs are a little bit cold. I'm not sure if you can see in the video here, but this road it's got some gravel on it. So it's a little bit scratchy. I've got to be careful. There's also the potential for ice right now. As far as handling goes, I would definitely push it more on a warmer day on cleaner roads, but this is just trying to feel while I'm driving like this, you know, what's the bike going to do transmission wise. and it's fairly predictable. Downshifts are very smooth. They're not jarring, and so it's not going to upset your line as you're going through a corner.
As far as instrumentation goes, I'm going to fire up the display here. That's just kind of cool. So you have a clock, a fuel gauge, you have in here you have a gear indicator, the tach runs across the top, you have your mileage there, your miles per hour. This is the ABS model, so once you get up to I think 4 miles an hour, this light will go off. But it's a pretty comprehensive dash, and I like that. A couple other things while we're here. This bike has a button here to downshift, and on the other side of the handle here, it's got the little lever to upshift. This is the parking brake, and you pull this up to set it, and you can see the red line here. That means it's on. And then you kind of pull up and push that button in to disengage it. And then you also have, if you're going to be using the other levers to go up and down on your shifting, you'll need to set it. It's got automatic and manual mode, so you just toggle that and it puts it in manual mode. And then this is your button here. When you come to a stop and want to park it, you put it in neutral. And if you want to put it in drive, it's got the D here, you just select that. And if you want to go to sport mode, you just select it again. And then you could do that on the fly. Also, if you want to go back to just normal drive mode, you just push that button again and it goes to drive. Pretty easy to use, not very complex, and just kind of some cool features here with that DCT transmission. So there you have it, Honda's NC700X DCT ABS. This bike is arguably the finest commuter bike ever made, if you're tall enough to ride it. Really, as far as the competition, if you look at the Kawasaki Versys, this bike is not as sporting as the Versys. And if you look at Suzuki's V-Strom 650, this bike isn't as adventurous as the V-Strom. However, it's a better commuter, and neither of those bikes offers an automatic. So that's just, this bike really is in a league of its own if you want an automatic ADV bike. So I think it's a cool machine. I really enjoy riding it, and I'll continue to ride it while I have it. And like I say, in future videos, we'll be going over how to service this machine. I hope you found this video informative and entertaining, and until next time, ride safe.